Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome again to another amazing night in terms of these kinds of just spectacular nights that we're spending together. I just want to say right off the bat, um, thank you. I just got invited to a few friends' houses and a friend's house, and just had an amazing dinner. And it's just, to me, it's just the most incredible thing in terms of Ramadan and how it brings people together. So to my respected friends who did that, thank you so much. And overall, it's really about, when we dive into this month is all about learning how to regulate yourself as a person. And we had a conversation about just many different things, but one of the things we talked about was the human mind and how it can really construct itself at a completely different level, and why things like the smallest little things that you think may not have an effect on you, like things like music and stuff like that, have dramatic effects on your personality, on your health, and so many things, personal health, personality health, and constructing yourself properly as a person. So all these things, guys, at the end of the day, we have to come back to understanding how to regulate what we want to take in, regulate how we want to do things in so many different ways in terms of where we spend our time, which people we let into our life. It's all about regulation. So it's ultimately about self-regulation. And tonight, what I want to do is kind of take you into that in terms of the 5 different mechanisms that you have to do to regulate yourself. So let's say you get hit by life or something happens, okay? I'm going to take you through these dimensions. Self-regulation, the ultimate goal of it is self-development. When you learn how to regulate yourself. So when I get clients, let me just give you an example before I move forward. When I get clients who talk to me about, call me, or there's something going on with their life, ultimately, what I have to do is regulate them. I have to get them to calm down, take it easy, and relax. And I'll give you guys an example in terms of one time I was dealing with this major issue in terms of this person's life, where major things was going to happen in his life. And what had happened is the person who he was having the problem with ended up calling me. And I remember I was actually in Florida and I was giving presentations down in Florida. And from there, I get this strange number and I don't even know who it is. And I just had gotten off my presentation. I just got off the stage. And when I went over there and I picked up, and I'm just walking outside, and Florida is beautiful at night. So when I went outside and I was just walking, and I see my phone and I open it, and all I hear on the other side is just somebody breathing really heavy. And at those moments, those are moments that really change your life in so many ways. Now, I don't really know this person. I know who they are. I just don't really know them as a person. But they're like, the first thing they say to you is, "You're the last person I'm going to call." And it's like, it's a very harsh reality. And now you have to regulate. This person had kids. This person had so many different things that in their life, but now you're basically the last thing between them and death. And this person then says to me, "Is like, listen, I have a gun that's sitting on my lap. I just want you to know that." And they're still breathing, and it's like, and I remember the breaths that they were taking. I remember it vividly. It's just like it sinks into your head, because they're taking in breaths, and they're just coming, and it's just all you do is hear them breathe. And you have to be so calm in situations like that. But there's something that almost like takes you over as a person and just allows you to kind of go and enter these kinds of realms. And after like an hour, I got to a point where the person started turning on. Why? Because I started hitting on the kids. So the calmness and dealing with the emotion was the first hour. Then I went to the logic after that. And I remember when I said their kid's name, that moment was so profound. And I said the kid's name. And when I said the kid's name, the person cracked, meaning they started crying. And they hysterically, they couldn't stop. And when that happened, it's whenever someone cries, it's like you're putting your finger in the wound. That's where the hurt is. That's where the pain is. So now when that happens, the conversation started turning. And this person started becoming more hopeful, more strength, more ability. And they're starting, no, I can't do this. What am I thinking? And it's just incredible what happens. But it's all about self-regulation. And I remember, guys, I'm just a person who's just trying to do the best that I can in life. And then Allah puts you in these high stress situations. And you say, like, you get mixed into something different. And your makeup becomes something different. Because now you succeeded in a very tough situation. And it's not that Allah Azza wa Jal helps you through these things. And I thank Allah that I've been put in these situations and I've been able to succeed in them. I'm grateful for that. So at the end of the day, when you start going towards these things, it's incredible. And then you start realizing why you do what you do. You start taking that in and you say, like, wow, that's incredible. This person made my life incredible. They made me value life so much more. They're going through trials and they just share that experience with me. What a privilege that is. And now you start wanting in terms of helping people. You just want to help someone, get them to the next level without any expectations in return. And that turns you on in terms of a person who just wants to get towards the highest points of achievement in those kinds of domains. And so I remember these things and they're so distinct. There's different episodes in my mind. And from here, it's learning how to regulate yourself emotionally, where you can take on these kinds of situations. So when you walk into a situation, it's very heavy in stress, you can lock in and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's going on with the situation. You can lock in and you can fit in properly, and then you get what you want out of the situation and you actually help the other person overcome it. So now let's go through this. There's 5 levels. There's 5 levels I want to take you through. And some of them you may have heard before, but it's that combination. And once you do these in a series, okay, it's a series, meaning it's a sequential approach. You have to do step 1 before you do step 2. You have to do step 3 before you do step 4. You have to do step 4 before you do step 5. It's sequential. It's about getting yourself where you can actually beat any situation. Apply these things, guys, tonight. And I guarantee you, you're going to be able to do this right in terms of once it comes up. And these are a lot of things I do already with my clients. So when a client comes or they're having a situation, I literally have to deal with a lot of things. And I'll give you some more tools that you can use in terms of just helping yourself out. So this presentation is really about you being able and learning the tools to regulate your own self. You regulating you. You don't need to call anyone. You can kind of just sit down, list these things, take some good notes and watch what will happen. So you can help yourself when you get in an emotional hurricane and you don't know where things are at, just chaos everywhere. This will give you some stability in terms of moving forward. All right, so let's move forward. Okay, self-development. The ultimate goal of self-development is to have an agent. So I'm going to use an example here in terms of moving forward. All right, so an agent can be anything in terms of any kind of trial. Okay, effectively function on their own, meaning any person. I'm going to use agent here for a little bit later on down the line because I want to use like a business example so to kind of give you something further. Okay. And to have them effectively function on their own without needing consistent direction from a coach, mentor, or psychologist. Your job is to be able to what? Regulate yourself. Meaning when you hit hard and you hit the wall of life and the wall of frustration and it hits you hard, you need to be able to regulate, bounce off, and move forward. That should be your goal. Whenever you're going through anything in life, you need to learn how to do that. So when nobody is there for you and you don't have that support, you can stand up on your own 2 feet. You can do these kinds of things and you can move forward. 5 stages. So let's get going here. Really, again, take these down. And if you're in a place where you mentor people or you're a teacher or you coach people or whatever it is, I would highly recommend you take these down because these are essential steps in terms of moving forward. Again, individually, they're going to sound like they're common sense. It's the practicality of applying this together. That's what happens. Again, there's a lot of study behind this. It's not, I'm not just giving you information just from my own whims. No, there's actually studies. There's actually a couple of university books. But before I move forward, I didn't forget, guys. This, I'm going to put it back down, all right? Moral manager, okay? This is all a hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It's a business book. Business book. How to be, I'm going to read you some of the actual, within the index. Okay. Maintaining justice and management. A fair and balanced administration. The role of religion and administration. A close bond with employees. Meeting the people. Okay. Maintaining control. Let me see some here in terms of, let's say, some leadership. Truthfulness, maintaining trust. The manager and the server of people. Administration and the 3 important points. Like literally, there's just so much in here. It's unbelievable in terms of the way it talks about leadership. It talks about administration. It talks about business in so many different ways. And there's a hadith for almost every one of the places that it's based all on a hadith. Honesty, integrity, incompetent administrators. Really, really amazing book, guys. And if you can really get this book, it's something that's very, very, very special. The Power Hungry Manager. Okay, right there. Moral Manager. Try to get it. There it is. All right. So let's move forward, guys, in terms of these kinds of things. 5 stages sequentially. Let's take them forward. All right. So here's the 5 stages. I'm going to show them to you here really quickly. All right. So you can take them down. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. Let's go through them one by one. All right. So number 1, in terms of this, what I want you to understand is problem identification. Guys, the biggest problem that I see across the board is when a person comes to you and they don't know what is going on with them. How many of you have ever been in a situation where you feel something, you feel bad, but you don't know why? You don't know why you feel so bad. You don't know why, and you can't turn it around. You can't get out of your emotional rut. You can't do it. The ability to identify a problem determines that change is possible and desirable and can take responsibility for its solution. The person has to learn that, okay? The ability to identify a problem. So a mentor, you have to help people identify the problem. Guys, most of us, when we're actually going through stuff, we don't know what's going on the inside. That's why sometimes we feel bad or we have these negative emotions, but we don't know what caused it. We don't know why it happens. Guys, I swear to you, I'm gonna be very direct with you, and you might think I'm crazy or you might think something is, but I swear to you, I can't even remember. Like, you go through certain things in life where they make you feel stressed. I understand, but I can't, like the last 6 months to 8 months, probably even a year. I would say over a year. I can't even remember the last day that was bad for me. I can't even remember it. I can't even remember when I had a bad day. It's about how to maintain your mentality in terms of how to move forward. So, but I went through something. I'll give you an example. I went through something and I had to refine something with my personality. So I had to dig in. I had to see. There was something in there that I didn't like, and I had to figure it out. I swear to you, I went on a 4-month search 4 months, okay? And I finally identified the direct source. But I have these tools because I've done this with many people before. So you have to go into your subconscious wiring, meaning the hardware that's already downloaded into your system. And what you need to do is find that circuit that's off, or it's not running, it's not working. That's what you have to do. But it's very difficult to identify that sometimes, because sometimes that circuit has laid in our mind for years and years and years and even decades. Okay, so from there, you don't realize that your subconscious wiring is creating this behavior without your conscious knowledge. That is your job, is to learn how to emotionally regulate, find out your triggers, find out when you are being triggered. When that happens, find out the behavior in terms of the way you're reacting. Why do I pick this person in my life all the time? Let's say you're picking the same person in terms of a friend or a romantic relationship or anything, that you keep finding the same exact mold. Guess what? There's a system inside of you that's pushing you towards these people. It's pushing you towards this friend. It's internal. There's a sub-personality that's there. So I know some people I'm just getting to know now, and they're just one person I just met not too long ago. And this person is just absolutely phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Why? Because they're so in sync mentally in terms of just my understanding and who I am. They're so in sync and they understand things at a completely different level, but they're very high in emotional intelligence as well. So they understand and they can decode emotion, and they're very intellectually smart and they're educated. That's an amazing combination. And now we're just getting to know people like that. This person, guys, is soaring above the clouds. They're not a person with a broken wing. They're not like that. This person can fly, they can get on their own, has emotionally regulated properly. They can identify problems, take care of those problems. Then they can move on and beat those problems. Then from there, they actually build their confidence. That's the way it works. But you want to bring these people into your life who have very high value. And you don't pick certain people that are broken wings, have broken wings, and you have to fix them all the time. Now, let's say you do pick the people with broken wings. There's a circuit that's inside of you that needs to be changed. So all I'm saying to you here is, I've dealt with some clients who are like that, by the way. And I call it the savior syndrome. They want to save everybody. But ultimately, guys, here's what happens. There's a sub-circuit that you need to understand. So what I did that. I went in and I found that circuit. I cut it. I did my own mental surgery. Okay. I snipped. I did the surgery. I snipped mentally. Okay. I removed that. Then I had to remove the emotional cancer that's connected to that. And now I have to develop a new circuit. And I did that. That's mental surgery. There's mental and emotional surgery. And it's based on your concepts and emotions. So on that level, understand this, that when you can identify the problem, it's everything. It's literally becoming an expert in identifying why you feel what you feel. And it's called emotionality, by the way. Why you feel what you feel, why you're thinking what you're thinking. And if those two connect and you see what the problem is, okay, I'm actually thinking this way because I'm feeling this way, and I'm actually feeling this way because I'm thinking this way, and then it's much easier to regulate. So I have people build a list for themselves. So let's say you're involved with someone that you love, in terms of, I'm just talking, identifying the problem is key, guys. It's everything. This is the bulk of the presentation. Identifying the problem. Let's say you have a person who you're connected to, and now you're going through a breakup. I have a lot of clients who actually go through that. They go through a breakup and they'll call you and they're starting. So the first thing I have them do is anything that's an emotional and mental trail of that other person, they have to start getting rid of it. because now their memory, let's say that it's a bad relationship and they need to move away from this person. This person has a broken wing, they're manipulative, they may be somewhat narcissistic, and this person needs to be moved away from their life. Okay, so right away, what I do is I get them to a point to what? The memories now of that person becomes that person's cage, and it's a mental imprisonment. I get mentally, I become encaged and I cannot move because my memories now of that person. So what I do is I have them create a counter memory against their own brain. So a positive, because it's called rosy reciprocity. When we think back of our people that we care for, we think back and what do? We think of all the positive things. Now here's what happens on the other level. I have them make a list of all the negative things. Let's say, again, this person is manipulative. They're a bad person. They're not a good person to be in a relationship with. I have them create a list. Every time they have a good thought, which is a mental prison that brings back that pain and that emotion, what do? I have them create a counter thought. Okay, remember when he did this to me or she did that to me? Or so now you create a list. Every time you're going through that, you read off the list. Now you're identifying, and you can now start connecting the problems. Oh my God, when I'm sitting alone and I say, this thought comes to me, and then you start identifying the problem and where you are actually triggered. So I'll give you an example. In terms of the student mentality, for example, Jim must recognize and accept his inability to walk up. Let's say this person has a lot of, in terms of this situation I'm giving you, this person has a door-to-door job and they have to go to door to door and knock on doors, okay? And hits standards because he becomes too nervous and lacks confidence. So this is a form of identifying the problem. So this person, their performance is down because what? They lack the confidence of going up and actually talking to someone. So I have one of my clients today actually who's like that. See, they're terrified. So they get really anxious when they're about to talk to people, okay? So identifying the problem now so you can create the solution. That's number one. So problem identification. Now, guys, please, if you're not an expert, please don't give advice. Please, I beg you, if you're not an expert in something, please don't give advice freely, please. Because the things I have to deal with sometimes is because of someone else's suggestion, that they thought they were so great with their opinion. But if you're not an expert, just say you don't know. Man taraka qawli la adri hulika. Whoever leaves and abandons the word saying I don't know will surely be annihilated. So be careful from bad advice. Be really careful from bad suggestions, because it's very easy to take chances with someone's life. You're not going to feel the consequences, but it's so easy to move your tongue and actually give advice. It's so easy. And now the world is just full of experts with the internet, with social media and everything. Please be very careful with who you listen to, from whom you listen to. Please give yourself an advantage in life and actually get yourself to the next stage with these kinds of things. Some people, I'm being honest with you, they're just full straight out devils, and they actually give advice to people. So they're like the shaitan walking around just giving advice. And I'm not saying it's everybody. I'm not saying these are particular people. There's very specific people. But on a general level, be careful when you open your mouth and you give advice. Be careful. Please be careful. Okay? Number one, problem identification. Number two, commitment. All right. So recognizing the problem, however, is not sufficient. Let's say now you come. Everything is there. Bottom line, I figured it out. I know what it is. The second thing is you really have to commit. You have to tell yourself, listen, I found out that this friend, whenever I'm eating with him or her, okay, and we go out to eat, I eat really, really bad. And then when I eat really bad, it throws me down in a spiral negative road where I can't recover now. And now I'm eating bad all the time. But I figure out that this person is the trigger. Now, what do? I commit. Once I figure out and identify the problem, I commit. And I say, you know what? I'm going to hang out with a friend, but I'm not going to go out with them to eat. Okay? Commitment is such as slowness of progress and the need for regular practice of mental skills that will arise during the change process. Okay, commitment is key. Why? Because you're going to fluctuate. One day you want to work out. Okay, one day you don't want to work out. The next day you want to work out. Next day you don't. I'm staying home. I don't care. Now, please, in terms of that aspect, if you can maintain any kind of consistency, which is coming up, okay, any kind of consistency, it's key for the change. And you have to maintain it for a small amount of time. Doesn't take long. It's about that willpower. Willpower is needed in the beginning of creating a habit. That's what you need. So you need it in the beginning. And once you get it to go on its own and you wire yourself properly up top, then you can just let things go. Now, sometimes we fall off again, but it's much easier to get back on the second time because now you know how good it feels and you can release that dopamine in your brain. So commitment, number 2. Problem identification, number 2. Once you do that and you find the problem, commit. All right. Now, execution. Both of those were mental. Both of those first 2 concepts were mental. This is the primary stage of what? Self-regulation. Now, when I find out what the problem is and I'm trying to regulate myself, now I see what the problem is. Then when I see, I say, you know what? I'm going to change this. That's it. But that's still words. Now those words have to turn into actions. And those actions have to take place properly. Okay. In this change, in terms of Jim, he was scared to walk up to a door or walk up to people. Okay. Jim will need to what? Self-evaluate. So watch this. Now, if you're a person that's gone through these kinds of things, you've evaluated yourself. Now you understand, okay, I need to self-monitor, meaning I have to see, okay, why is this happening to me? Okay. Where is this coming from? Why is it a person? Is it an environment? Is it at the time of day even? Now, all these can be triggers, okay? Develop appropriate expectations in terms of who they are and what they're going through. So now I have to set goals for these kinds of things, and I have to make sure that's there. Now, self-reinforcement as he learns to cope efficiently with stress and to perform more accurately under pressure. Guys, right here, I'm going to stop. Okay, guys. It's so important to test yourself under pressure. There's a difference when you're being trained as a soldier to go into battle, and there's a difference between that and being in battle. But your training is so important because it gives you the scaffolding in your brain to rely on your training when the pressure hits. When this pressure in the situation hits, that's what it's giving you. So now you need to evaluate who you are and understand how that works. Okay. So now the way you do that, there's something that we use in terms of logging. You might do that. You don't have listen, when I was doing this and I was going through this, guys, I would log every 15 minutes. My mentor wanted me to log every half hour. I actually changed the whole script. I gave it categories. And I set in times and I knew exactly which person to stay away from, which action to stay away from. I actually had to develop myself in terms of these kinds of things. So logging on, he might log on a record. He might log on a record of his performance rates, his anxiety, and reward himself for improvement. So this is a way you could do it. So let's say you do excel and you get yourself to the next stage. Now you can actually create rewards in terms of what you're trying to do. Now you're learning how to regulate yourself at a completely different level. If let's say I have a problem doing my homework and I don't have this ambition. I don't want to do it. I figure out the trigger why. I don't like it. Maybe I feel like within myself, I'm not as efficient as I should be. Maybe I have a problem with it. But then I figure out that, okay, if that's the case, let me try to commit to getting better. And I start reading every day a little bit more. I start reading, I commit, and I say, I create a plan. I say, I'm going to read for 5 minutes. But then I start executing, and I actually do that. And then the next day, I actually like it so much, I read 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Every time I'm doing that, I can actually create a small little log. And you know what happens? In terms of tracking my performance. I swear to you, when I did this, guys, this changed my whole life right here. I did this for at least 6.5 months straight, every single day. And I kept a record. And that changed my wiring in my brain, that I can do it now without a system. I can literally do that alone now. I don't need that system anymore. That system is downloaded in my head that I can emotionally regulate at will. I can just turn on a few buttons inside and just bam, just zero. And I can get calm really, really quick. But that's a system you have to develop. But then from there, if I need my anger and I need my energy to go against being a coward, I could do that as well. And I stand, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the consequences, okay? And I see the consequences. It doesn't like I'm dropping them. But I'm saying it doesn't matter the consequences because I'm not, in the moment, you can't be afraid then. You have to step forward. And you have to be what? Now aggression has to take over. Let's say someone is attacking someone you care for, attacking your mother, attacking your wife, attacking someone who's you care for. In terms of, you have to muster up that anger and be able to push forward. So when I changed this and when I went through this, it's incredible what happens. And this stage it is especially important, listen to this, okay? To sustain efforts when setbacks occur. Guys, a lot of people break here, all right? That's where they break. They break at this level. When a setback happens, they start saying, I'm gonna stop trying. And guys, I wanna tell you something, and this is something very important. And you need to look up this concept. And I may talk about it later, I may not, but a lot of people suffer from this. And there's a concept that's called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness occurs, and it's a learned behavior. When we keep failing over and over and over and over again, we start to we've learned to be helpless. When we say, like, you know what, we give up completely. So the way we test this, like on mice in actual labs, is they put a mouse in a box, and there's a door, and they put the food outside the box, but they wire the box, the door, with electricity. So every time the mouse goes, it gets a small little zap. So now it keeps trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and trying again. But every time it gets to the door because it wants the food, guess what happens? It gets zapped. You know what happens after a couple hours, guys? The mouse goes into the corner, sits down, and stops trying. Now, the next day, they put it back in the cage, or they put it back in the box. They remove the electricity, where now it can go freely, and it's really hungry. The mouse is actually really hungry. You know what it does? It goes back into the corner and sits down again. It's learned how to be helpless. That's how they train elephants, by the way. When they're very young, they put a stake in the ground that's really, really deep. And no matter what the animal does, it cannot pull it out. You know what happens when the animal gets older? But then it breaks, it stops trying, gets to a point where it stops trying, and it never tries again. All they do is stick the pole a couple inches, 3-4 inches into the ground. And now, guess what? It thinks it can't pull that out again. So once you face setbacks, guys, please don't go towards learned helplessness. That's going to cause you a lot of psychological pain and a lot of emotional pain, because you will never be able to get yourself out of it. Some people stay there for a very long time and they don't know how to get themselves out of that kind of hole. So keep trying, keep moving. There's a lot of psychological health when you do that. Eventually you will succeed. Don't learn how to go into learned helplessness, learn how to succeed. There's a difference. Execute, execute, execute. And if you fail again and again and again, get up again and again and again. There's a lot of psychological health in that for you. Okay. Now, number 4, environmental management, meaning planning and driving strategies to manage the social and physical environments. Okay. For example, okay, coaches, customers, teammates affect the individual. Everything around you guys affects you. Your environment affects you. Your own principles will dictate the environment you're going to seek. Let's say you like partying, you're going to find the club. Okay, that's a principle that you have. Okay, let's say you love praying, you're going to find the mosque. Okay, so all these kinds of things, the environmental management is huge. Knowing that what environments are wrong for me, what environments are really healthy for me. So if you want to build spirituality, let's say, go spend an hour in the Jannah. Put yourself around religious gatherings where there's really nice spiritual environments and people who are really spiritual. Okay? These become so important. Just softens the heart. And that's one way to actually soften the heart. If you have a hard heart, that's one way to soften the heart, is put yourself in these kind of environments. Go to the mosque, go to religious gatherings, go to spiritual gatherings, pray on time. When you pray, maybe do one extra prayer, maybe cry when you pray. Okay, these things soften the heart. Okay, maximizing social support and having a quiet place. Guys, like, I cannot assess, like, again, these are so important. There's a place in your mind you need to be able to go to. And it's a different type of environment. What we're talking about here is external environments. What I'm talking about now is an internal environment in your head. There's a quiet place you need to be in, where it's one room that no one can enter but you. And this is a corner in your mind that you need to what? Build on your own. And once you build a small little room, it can become a palace. Because once you learn how to live in that corner of spirituality properly, that palace will ignite your whole system. So there's an environment that you got to build inside your own mind. Not just your external environments. There's internal environments that you got to learn how to build on your own. And that is huge. It's huge in terms of your own stabilization. So number 4 in emotional and self-regulation is environment. So shutting and knowing how to shift these kinds of things becomes very important. All right, last one, guys, is generalization. Here's something that I really want to give you, and you guys need to do to take it to a whole nother level. Okay, and I'm going to give you a final result in terms of what studies indicate after this slide, in terms of what happens, in terms of when someone becomes a top performer. Wow. Okay. And now, generalizations. Generalizations are basically this. You take now this new habit that you have, okay, and it's like a skill. And now you understand what the problem is. Once you understand the problem, you commit. Once you commit, let me take you back to the beginning here. Once you commit, what happens? You begin to execute. You need to go after that. Once you execute, you start changing the environmental roles. Maybe this environment is wrong for me. This environment is right for me. I start changing even my environments. Okay, these are key components in terms of building yourself to the next stage. And the last one is generalization. What happens in this stage is this, guys, that I can actually use this habit that's specific, let's say for reading, or specific for going to softening my heart, specific for spirituality, specific for anything in terms of I've been able to conquer this situation. I can generalize it and I can use it against what? Other things, guys. I can actually use it in terms of many other ways. So what happens here is something so crucial. And for example, Jim, let's say, who had fear of actually approaching people, might use the same psychological skills that he's learned now. And guys, psychological skills, meaning these are tools. So you have to build your mind. What I'm giving you right now is a set of tools. If you download this into your system, you're going to have a set of tools to fix yourself when you're down and out. That's literally what happens. So if you go through these steps, you find the problem, you commit, you execute, you change environments, then you generalize in terms of using that to a greater good, where you can generalize it and use it as a tool, not just for this specific thing, you use it for many other things. That's what generalization is, okay? So you learn the skill set, psychological, for example, Jim might use the same psychological skills that he successfully learned in the field, meaning to go in there and knock on doors and not be afraid of people, to help deal with anxiety he experiences while what? Taking an academic test. That's what happens. You build yourself and you become much more stronger. Now, because you're not afraid of people and you can walk up to people and you can start a conversation with a stranger. Wow. Now you can actually use that psychological skill to actually help you when you're taking an exam. So you generalize that. That's the way it works, guys. So you can regulate yourself at a completely different level. So remember the 5 stages. And here's the last thing in terms of this, guys. And here's what top performers do in terms of this and what has been shown, okay? So from here, results. Here's what the results indicate. More skilled performers use problem identification, displaying commitment, and executing performance strategies more often than less skilled performers. Okay, that's what studies indicate. So the person who uses this type of identification, sets it up, and they use problem identification, displaying commitment, and executing performance strategies, guess what? They outdo the others, because this is a strategy for you to do. And it's not that difficult, guys. You just got to learn it enough, it becomes second nature. And once that happens, you'll have it. You got it. And once you get it to the next level, it's incredible. Download the software. And when you download the software, you're no longer renting the software. It's yours. It's in your system. You can use it at will. And what does that mean when you download the software versus renting the software? Some of you right now, you may be listening and you're just, okay, this sounds cool. You're not writing anything. You don't care to. It's okay. It's okay information. Okay. But what happens here is in a couple of hours, so 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe 5 hours, maybe 5 days, you're going to lose that information because your short-term memory will trick you in thinking that, oh, I got this. But if somebody were to ask you 5 weeks down the line, you're not going to remember any of it because it never went into your long-term memory. Okay. So the difference between renting an idea and owning an idea, renting idea exists in your short-term memory, okay, which is you just have it for a short amount of time. And downloading an idea and actually owning an idea is when it goes into your long-term memory. Now it becomes yours. So download these rules properly. And then what happens is this: when you own the idea and a situation comes, that software will automatically trigger. And then it will bring the right lenses of awareness for you to look through. And now you will see things that others did not see because of that software. That software will allow you and it will help you, okay, make really good decisions. That's what happens. That's what training does. So when you go into war, you're safe, calm, collected, and you can take out anything in terms of it's in your way. And you're so capable in terms of your ability because you're a machine. Your subconscious mind is the machine. It's not your conscious mind. Your conscious mind directs, but this thing is underneath. It's the whole program. Okay, they're saying 98 to 99% of your thinking is done by your subconscious mind. That's what studies indicate now. It's even going now to less than 1%. So think about these things in terms of what you're saying and what you're doing. Don't take this stuff lightly. Download information, own it, don't rent it, and then take yourself to the next level. And hopefully the next time something happens to you, you can regulate yourself and take yourself to a next level. And then you don't have to call anyone at all. And you can do it on your own. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.